Cynthia. Happy new moon. Um, my husband and I have been negotiating who gets to work, who gets to watch the little kiddo who's 4 years old. So they haven't quite left the house yet. So I'm just gonna get set up, and I invite you to also get set up. Hello, Ladonna, welcome. So I invite you to get set up. Some of the things that I have today, hold on a second. I just started creating the space here for us, and just to let you know, we'll be having an opening invocation, but whatever you need to do to kind of clear the space and settle down. So I have some Palo Santo here, this beautiful plant medicine. Hi, Jennifer. How are you? You're so welcome. Hello, Ashley. Oh my gosh, you guys are so awesome. I'm just like, when I was like looking at everybody's charts last night, I kind of stayed up really late, just like admiring the beauty and the originality in everybody's charts. So just thank you for showing up and being here and, you know, making the commitment to yourself that you are going to be a leader in this new paradigm. As we begin, I'll just be kind of sharing some stories as I'm speaking to myself. So I have some Palo Santo here. Today we are working with the fire and the earth element. I know I mentioned for us to get some candles to prepare. If you have it nearby, if you'd like, you know, grab some earth element. Yes, hello, Queen Tasha. Peace and blessings to you as well. I often collect my ash from my incense or my sage, and I usually, I don't know if you can see this. Where's the camera? Here's the camera. I have a bunch of like dried flowers and some salt in here. Whatever ritual that I'm working with, whatever element I'm working with, I will often put it in this little fluorite bowl. This is just like a little bowl that I have that I love. And so earth element is salt, you know, or if you have crystals, and also ash, right? Since, you know, we have our fire, but in the spirit world, ash is the element that we need. So I'm just going to prepare my space here, and thank you for giving me the space to do this, as I wasn't able to get this done before we met up, thanks to my little guy who decided to wake up early this morning. All right, I also have a crystal. I'm going to be using this crystal for the fire ceremony. So if you have some ash, something that will symbolize earth, have water nearby just in case, you know, safety first. I invite you to, if you haven't already, light your candle. What a beautiful new moon. What have you guys been doing for new moon so far? Anything special? I'm in the West Coast, so I know it's a little bit earlier for me than some of you here. Here is our candle for all of us. I will put it right in front of us so that, let's see if I can get that. You guys see that candle? in my little cubby here. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's lovely. All right. So you guys all have your worksheets. I know we all have our charts. Is Joanna here yet? Because I want to make sure that she is here. Oh, there are more comments. Hello. Kat says, I've been so excited for this. I have been so excited for this. And by the way, Kat, I owe you a call. We have to, you know, do an Astro Brand reading. Hello, Joanna. Thank you for being here. LaDonna, oh yes, the hospitals are crazy right now. I'm so glad that you found the space here. And I hope that you're doing everything mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally to keep yourself protected right now. That's for all of us, right? So let's get started. Just to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be doing today, I'll be opening up a special invocation created by our own Joanna Lynn Steffel. She wrote a beautiful invocation for us. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the new moon, just kind of like you all pretty much already know what it is, but I'll be talking about a little bit about the new moon. Oh, I need to remember to keep on Going up on these comments. Sarah says, I made an Aries new moon inspired collage last night, trying to create art to launch each new moon cycle. Yes, that's gorgeous. So we're going to talk a little bit about the astrology of the new moon and what all of this kind of stuff that's going on, all of this heavy stuff. I know if you've been following astrology and astrologers, you might have already been hearing about kind of like the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened back in January, kind of really igniting all of this craziness. I don't think anybody could have predicted it was going to be this widespread and so pivotal for all of us. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the astrology. And then, of course, we'll go into each of your charts. I think last night I posted 28, but there were some latecomers in that I was managed to get you in there. So there was like 38 charts that I went through. So for each of those charts, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be giving you where you need to show up as a bold, courageous leader based on where Aries falls on your cusp. And then I'm going to give you where the new moon in Aries is activating. So where it's asking you specifically to plant your seeds of intention. And I'll talk you guys through that and how to find out more information in the worksheet. So of course, if you have questions, just stop me here because I'm sitting here talking to myself. Hi, Kai, welcome. Patricia, welcome. Oh my gosh. You are not late. You are here now. It is perfect. So I hope you all have your flames here. Again, if you have some ash or some earth element, I have a crystal because at the end, we're going to be doing something with the flame in the crystal. And let me take a sip of coffee and we will open officially our circle. All right. So again, this is written by the beautiful mama goddess, Joanna Lynn Steffel of Beautifully Chaotic. Joanna is a group member here. She is also a brave woman and has gone with me through a crystallized brand coaching session. I have just really, truly enjoyed getting to know Joanna over the year, and she has so many beautiful gifts to share in terms of self-care for mamas and just goddesses. So here we go. So first we begin to center ourselves, our new moon in Aries invocation. First we begin to center ourselves into our hearts with the power of 3 breaths. So I'd like every one of us here to plant our feet firmly on the ground. The first breath is the breath of the past, any thoughts that are drawing our attention to the past. We are going to think of all those things that happened before this moment on the inhale, and on the exhale, we'll release them. So together, inhale. The second breath is the breath of the future. Any thoughts that are drawing our attention to the future, in particular our never-ending to-do list, we're going to think of all those things that are to happen after this moment on the inhale, and on the exhale, we will release them. Inhale together. Next, our third breath is a little bit different. This is the breath of the eternal, the present moment, the only true thing that we have. This time, breathe in and really savor the moment. On the exhale, send love, light, and peace into the world. All right, so I'm going to repeat that because it's so beautiful. Hi, Jen. Hello, Kai. Hello, Sessa. Hello, Chris. Hello, Robin. Jen, don't worry. I think you'll get a lot of information, and if we have time, we'll take a look. So let's go on our third breath. This breath, let's savor, right? So remember again, this is a breath for the eternal present moment, the only true thing that we have. So we will breathe in, savor, and on the exhale, send the love and light and peace into this world. So together. So beautiful. I feel that already. Next, we will set the container and call in celestial support. I call on the creator of all that is, whatever way everyone on this call here and watching the replay experiences the ultimate in whatever way they choose to name it or not. I call on all the higher selves of everyone in attendance. May we be connected. I call on the element of air and the direction of the east with its guardian of Archangel Raphael. May we experience focus and clear thinking in the decisions we make for our businesses. I call on the element of fire, in particular its expression as the zodiac archetype of Aries. I call on the direction of the south with its guardian of Archangel Michael. May we experience ignition of the spark of our passions to lead us into right action for our businesses. I call on the element of water and the direction of west with its guardian of Archangel Gabriel. May we experience the calmness of our internal waters and we birth new creations for our businesses. I call on the element of earth and the direction of the north with its guardian of Archangel Uriel. May we experience solidness and secure in the materializing of our new world and newness in our business. I call on Mother Earth and her guardian, Archangel Sandalphon. May our prayers for healing of the sick and Mother Earth herself be heard. I call on the heavens and its guardian, Archangel Raziel. May we open to new wisdom and teachings within our business. I call in our special guests of the goddess Kali Ma, the dark mother goddess of the Hindu tradition, to teach us how to gracefully let go of the old and boldly call in the new. I call on Pele, the beautiful Hawaiian volcano goddess, to teach us how to channel our passions and our fire to bring about fertile ground for our new intentions, new creations, and new world. Last, we call on the ultimate savvy luminary and all her wisdom, La Luna herself. May we learn new lessons as she enters this dark phase of her cycle. So it is, so it be. Thank you, everyone. Joanna, this was such a beautiful invocation. I love all of the energies that we've brought in, both celestial and earth and fire. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So you know that the new moon, I am a new moon person. My business, the LLC that runs everything that I do, is called New Moon Creative. New moon is about setting intentions. And I can't remember who shared with me, but intentions are similar to goals, but they're a little bit more receptive and more flexible in nature. They're not so rigid. And I love the idea of setting intentions versus goals because it has like a different energy and it actually has like a bigger picture. Like there's so many things that can happen within an intention that can't happen within a restrictive goal. So today for every new moon is your opportunity to set an intention because the moon and the sun are exactly conjunct, meaning they're at the same degree. So normally from our place on earth, we're not able to see it because the moon is in between us and the sun and like it's on the dark side, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to know that. But it is a time to plant our seeds. And because we have normally 12 or 13 of these new moons, it's so wonderful because they'll travel through the zodiac and it'll activate a specific house in our chart. And so that lets us throughout the year create and instigate another part of our life. And I think that is so gorgeous. Hello, Haley, welcome. I'm so glad you made it. Cynthia says, totally hadn't thought about it this way. Intentions have a this or something better feel. Yes, the opportunities are so much more wide and visible when we set intentions. So the Aries new moon is also is kind of the activation, the gateway to our astrological new year. At least in the Northern Hemisphere, it is spring. It is a time of new beginnings. And Aries, as the first sign in the zodiac, is the bold, courageous leader, right? I personally have a fractured a fractured experience with Aries. Aries is not really one of the archetypes that comes out strongly in me. I really tend to resist that Aries because it feels a little too aggressive. It feels a little too assertive. But those are shadow experiences of Aries, right? At the shadow side, it's like my way or the highway, or kind of this bully mentality. But at the highest expression of Aries, it's this place that where we go with like courage, and courage leads from the heart, right? It's not that we're not scared, it's that we're going to go and experience it anyway. And all of us could use a lot of courage right now. And as a business owner or a thought leader or whoever, whatever your role is in your community, I know that you play a leadership role somehow, or are meant to step into that leadership role. And what does that mean to be a leader, right? I'm writing this whole chapter on the rising sign, which is really kind of like where we start our leadership. But because in our traditional, like just like on, if you look at a zodiac chart, right, the natural rising sign, if you just look at a neutral chart, is Aries, right? So Aries rules the first house, it rules the rising sign, and everything in the rising sign and the first house in our businesses is literally our brand identity. How are we showing up in our business? Okay, so if you don't know your chart, you don't really give a shit about your chart, whatever, whatever you really feel, if you just want to do like kind of a generic ritual, if you were to focus on your brand identity and how you want to be seen in your business, like not like the feeling that you want to be seen, but like how others experience you, like your logo, your website, your social media, like all of those things, your brand personality, all of those things start at the first house, which is ruled by Aries. All right. Joanna says intentions are the feminine way. I love that. Robin says, I'm pretty darn good at embracing Aries. Yes, you are. So what I would like to do, I know I can't, I'm not sharing my chart here because when I was trying to use this other app called Be Live, the last time I went live, as soon as I started sharing, the sound went off. So like I had no idea that the sound went off, and I didn't want to risk it today. So I'll post some of these charts later so you can see the visuals that I'm looking at. So the interesting thing about today's new moon in Aries is that it's right on Chiron, the wounded healer. They are 1 degree apart right now in Aries. And the wounded healer is this part of us that we can't heal for ourselves, right? That's the mythology of Chiron, is that he had a wound, he couldn't heal it for himself, so he went out and learned all of these different healing modalities, and he was able to offer that gift to others, but he was never able to heal himself. So it's really interesting that I have, just to bring back to the analogy, I have Aries, and my Chiron is right on my cusp that Aries rules for me. So no wonder my situation with showing up as a leader is a little bit wounded. And what I do is I teach others to be a leader. I find it really not surprising, right? So that the fact that we can show up and be the leader, even if we are wounded in some way. And so this is the energy of what's happening today. And all of this, it's having a great square, so it's having a really friction. So it's squares, sometimes people think of them as negative, but they can have really positive aspects because there's so much energy for momentum and change to happen. And so what's happening right now is that the new moon conjunction with Chiron is squaring the south node in Capricorn. And so if you know about a little bit about astrology, the south node in Capricorn right now is about, not squaring, that's that quintile. I gotta get my glasses better, excuse me. Anyway, it is definitely activating the north node, south node axes, okay? Oh, it is a square. Yeah, because it's both, okay, anyway, they're both, I'm getting myself confused. I'm overthinking things. Hello, Gemini rising. I did this research yesterday and now I'm second guessing myself. So the collective nodal axes right now are in the Capricorn Cancer polarity, right? The Capricorn is the old ideal, the old pattern of like materialism and like structured government, and there's like kind of oppressive top-down forces that are crumbling down with this huge Capricorn stellium that has been happening, and Mars has been activating all of those slow-moving planets, Jupiter, Pluto, it'll be activating Saturn coming up. It's like things are going to have the potential to get really inflamed, and our patterns that we've been falling back on like hoarding and materialism, these are getting activated. But what this is telling us is that as the South Node is getting activated in Capricorn, it's also bipolarity activating the North Node across the way in Cancer. And so what we're seeing here is that we are in this place where we're being drawn together with our immediate families. As we're meant to shelter in place, we are creating tighter bonds and attachments with the people that are closest to us, our families that may live with us, our extended families, maybe even if you have like a tight-knit neighborhood that, you know, agrees to shelter in place together, right? So we're going to be seeing more of this with this focus on family. And I think that can be a really beautiful thing because, you know, each of us individually as families, we're creating the collective family. And then the highest expression of Cancer, right? If a lower expression of Cancer is like my family, like don't, you know, it's like kind of like, if you're not part of my family, I don't give a crap about you. But the highest expression of Cancer that we are here to cultivate is creating a safe space for all. So why I'm bringing all of these pieces into the astrology of today is that as you're thinking about your new moon ritual and how you are meant to become the leader in this next phase of the new normal, is how do you show up as the leader that is able to create and cultivate a secure place for your family while creating a safe space for your family at large, for your community, right? I think it is so beautiful. Oops, let me go check the comments here because I've been um, Chiron, my greatest teacher, 100%. Yeah, like I think, you know, we fight our Chiron, you know, we resist it, but it's only when we finally begin to love it and appreciate it and hear it for what it has to teach us can we move forward. Oh, Patricia just came out of your Chiron return in 2019. Yeah, I'm heading into my Chiron return. Not looking forward to it as I resist. Haley, my South Node is in Aries. Totally feeling this. Yes. Cynthia, my Chiron is in Cancer, 7th house. So I actually have a certain, I'm glad you mentioned that because when I go through your chart and how to read it, there's actually some keys for you there. Hello, good morning, Grace. So excellent. So anybody have any questions of Aries before we go on? And one really quick thing. If you are in the Pluto generation, Pluto and Libra generation, so Pluto was in Libra going back between 1971, it kind of like went in and out in 1971 all the way into 1984. So if you were born between 1971 and 1984, you are part of the Pluto in Libra generation. Pluto moves really, really slow through a zodiac. And specifically, if you were born around 1974 plus or minus, that means that your Pluto was going to be at 4 degrees plus or minus. So like anywhere from like 2 degrees to 6 degrees of Pluto in Libra. This is going to have an exact opposition to the new moon that is happening here. So not only are you thinking about how you are a leader, how you are being a leader, but also how your leadership role is transforming your partnerships. If the new moon in Aries represents you, the Pluto in Libra represents transformation of all of your committed partnerships. They call the Gen X, the Pluto in Libra, generation as like the like if you think of Gwyneth Paltrow, the conscious uncoupling. They were the first generation born under like who probably had parents that are in divorce, and so this is that Pluto is actually being activated right now with this new moon. So to think about how you need to show up more in your committed relationships, also to transform them, preferably for the better. I know that's on my mind. Donna, seventh house in Taurus, trying to figure that out. Patricia, and don't the nodes change in June to Gemini and Sag? Yeah, they do. The nodes move backwards. Wait, is that backwards? Yes, that's backwards. The nodes move backwards. They take a little while to transit, but this is going to be a massively transformative year. I don't need to tell you that. You already know. All right, so let's go on really quickly. I'm going to go through the worksheets and then I'm going to go through everybody's charts. I'm going to try to do it like speed reading because there are 30 charts to go through. And what I'm going to give everybody is I'm going to give you your cusp. So where Aries is on your cusp, which is to tell you which house you're supposed to show up as a leader. And if you look in your download, in your worksheet, on the page that has the house by house, it is so old school. I better not burn the candles in front of me. So in the worksheet, I don't know if you can see this. In the worksheets in the download, if you need to find the download, it's in the files section of the Savvy Luminary. I put house by house what kind of leader you're supposed to show up as. Okay, I can give you a little more insight on that as much as I can today. If you're going to need a little, I'm happy to go through deeper with you individually, but you know, we have what we have today. So this, so as I read your name, I just want you to jot down which house that you have Aries on the cusp, and then I'm going to give you where 4 degrees of Aries is activating in which house so that you can customize your new moon ritual. Okay, after I go through each one of your speed readings for your charts, then we will spend a little bit of time. I'll prompt you with some questions that you might that we can journal upon. I'm not sure how much time we'll have, so you might want to continue with this later. And then we'll go from there. All right. Anybody have any questions? Are y'all with me still? Cynthia, whoa, I'm going through a big transition in my relationship. Super synchronistic. Yes, I imagine a lot of us are going through massive transitions in our relationships, just having to be in such close quarters like 24/7. It has to change, right? Like there's lots of learnings and negotiations and like getting into a new normal. I'm not there yet. That's for sure. All right, so I'm just going to go in the order from when people left the comments on that call for natal charts. So first off, LaDonna, your Aries cusp is in the 6th house, and your 4 degrees of Aries activation is also in the 6th house. Okay. Your wedding got canceled. Thanks, Taurus and Chiron. Allison, truth. Corona, yes, I'm new to all of this, but I already feel the connection to this. Yes. All right, so LaDonna, did you get that? Just give me, I don't know who's doing the likes and the thumbs up, so just give me a comment in there. Sandra Eggvist, your Aries cusp is in the 4th house, and your 4-degree activation is in the 3rd house. I'll let you guys know what it means with the activation in the different houses too. I neglected to put that in the worksheet. Johanna R, your Aries cusp is on the 12th house, and your 4-degree activation is in the 11th house. And I think you're one of the people who are like, how do you lead from the 12th house? So I'm going to come back to that because there's actually several of us here who have 12th house activations. Tammy Reed, you have a very interesting interception. You have a superpower of the 2nd house and the third house. So you actually have Aries on both your second and your third house cusps, which gives you a huge superpower, a superpower that we can talk about later. I don't have time to get into it right now, and I wish I could. But also your 4 degrees of Aries activation is happening in the second house. And what's super, you actually have a very interesting activation going on for you right now, Tammy Reed. If you want to DM me separately, I'm happy to go through with that, because you are activating your natal Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. You have one of these rare Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions. We are coming up into a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius at the end of the year, and this is kind of like a once in every 20-year situation, and you were born with one of those, and it's being activated right now. So you have a lot of balancing power that needs to be addressed right now. So that's for Tammy Reed. Okay, Christina Rayburn, you also have a 12th house cusp in Aries, and your 4 degrees Aries activation, your new moon activation, is happening in the 11th house. Grace, I know you're here. Grace Van Cleve, your cusp, your Aries cusp, is on the 7th house, and your new moon activation is happening in the 6th house. Lindsay Lou Nelson, your Aries cusp is in the 2nd house by just a degree, and your new moon activation is on the 1st house. In the 1st house. Joanna Lynn Steffel, your Aries cusp is the 9th house, and your new moon activation is technically in the 8th house, but it's so close to the 9th house that I want to assign you a 9th house activation. Robin, I know you're here. You also have an intercepted 9th house, different than Tammy's, where she has 2 cusps on Aries. You actually do not have any Aries cusps. But the way that you access your Aries cusp in the 9th house is through Pisces. And I know we've talked about this thoroughly for you. And so in order for you to show up as a leader, it always has to come through the spiritual realm, which you already are doing. So thinking about you as our spiritual visionary here, literally. And your 4th house, your new moon activation is in the 9th house. And it's also, you have a special activation going on too, Robin. Your opposition, the new moon activation is opposing your natal Uranus-Jupiter North Node conjunction. So that is huge. You are literally building a rebel future. I don't know how else to say that. But if you want, we can talk more about that. Let's see. I hear my son exiting here, so I'm going to pause for a little bit, read the comments. Layla, no need to reply now. I just want to throw out this question for later when you have time. The chart I shared yesterday is my personal life chart, but I have my business chart in front of me now. 4 degrees in Aries in my first house, and conjunct natal Mars. Oh my gosh, yes. So natal Chiron. Okay. So yeah, Layla, can you save that question, copy that, and DM it to me later, and we can talk about that, or post it and tag me in the Savvy Luminary. Joanna, I love that you're making the heavens move for me. You're making the heavens move for you or yourself, Joanna. It's in your chart. Queen Tasha says that's awesome. Lindsay Lou got it. Robin, yes, please. Okay, so did I say, okay, Layla, yes, yours is in the 6th house. Your natal Aries cusp is on the 6th house, and your new moon activation is on the 5th house, and it's actually also opposite your natal Libra sun. So your new moon activation is activating your natal sun. So this is a huge time for creative expression, just to really go into your business chart with all of that happening in the 1st house. What comes down to me is like, you need to be working on your website and your branding and everything about getting your business forward facing and getting all of your brand identity all put together consistently. and Mars is there telling you, giving you, lighting the fire under your ass to do that. Got that, Layla? Okay, Sarah, Sarah Damien, your Aries cusp is on the 5th house, and your new moon activation is in the 4th house. Monica Kovac, your Aries cusp is on the 8th house. Ooh, mysterious. And your new moon activation is in the 7th house. When I was reading your chart last night, I don't know if you're on right here. I had a download as I was looking at your chart, and so what to me with the 7th house, this is about committed relationships. This can represent our ideal customers. This can represent like vendors and clients, all of those things, the people that we commit to working with. I want you to really commit to, I know these sounds like bad words, and I hate to put this like this, but the word, the downloaded word, and forgive me because this is not my word, it came downloaded, was stubborn. I don't know. Whatever download came to me was like, please work well with others and set that as an intention. Okay. So forgive me if that didn't sit as intended. I meant to be empowering, but whatever. Karen Smith, your Aries cusp is on the 6th house, and your new moon activation is also in the 6th house. Asha Frost, your Aries cusp is on the 7th house, and your new moon activation is also on the 7th house. And Asha, this is a very, very powerful new moon for you because your new moon activation is happening right on your 7th house cusp, like right on it, on your descendant. So you are activating not only your descendant, but also your rising, your ascendant by polarity. So this is also time for you to really work on your partnerships in your business, as well as your brand visibility through your brand identity. And Asha, if you want to talk about this more later, we can talk about that as well. I hope this is like kind of interesting for everyone to listen as I'm going down this, because I find this super interesting. Obviously, that's why I'm an astrologer. Lindsay, Brian Podvin, your Aries cusp is on the 5th house, and your new moon activation is in the 4th house. I did have a download for you as well with your 4th house activation, and I think it's time for you really to dive deep into figuring out your ancestry and your identity and your ancestry. I know that's like kind of something that I've seen you've been talking about a little bit lately, but this was coming really strongly for me, and I think that is going to help you establish some like kind of roots where maybe you feel that you don't have deep enough roots to find that heritage for yourself. Ariel, I should be able to say your name, Katalasan. You have a 3rd house Aries cusp, but it is also intersected. So meaning you don't actually have Aries on a cusp, it's within the 3rd house. So you have to lead just like Robin does through spiritual leadership in communications, right? So anytime you're going to be acting as a leader, it has to be through this spiritual filter. Anytime you're coming out boldly, it will always come through this compassionate, empathetic, connected spiritual leader. And your new moon activation is happening in the 3rd house. Brittany Finch, your Aries cusp is on the 8th house, and your new moon activation is also in the 8th house. You also have another activation with your new moon, as it is opposing your natal moon. So what I'm feeling for you is that whatever you choose to activate with your new moon intentions, you need to be emotionally vested in it. Like, trust up the wazoo is going to be huge for you. Okay. Geronima, you also have a 12th house on the Aries, 12th house cusp on Aries, and your new moon activation is also in the 12th house. Yes, Joanna. This is a Joanna says I'm loving the downloads. I do get the downloads when I'm reading a chart. It's so fantastic. I never really thought of myself as kind of like a channeler or anything, but I know that as I started cultivating my astrology, those downloads have come on really, really strong. Hello, Asha. I don't know if you joined and you got, I already read through your activation. If you heard it, let me know in the comments, and if not, I'll repeat it since you're here. Allison Mondell, I know you're here. Your Aries cusp is on the 7th house, and your new moon activation is in the 6th house. Nina Rose, your Aries cusp is also on the 7th house, and your new moon activation is on the 6th house, but it's really close to your 7th house cusp, and it's conjoining your natal Mercury. So I got a download for you too. You are really here to be a messenger to your people and to activate them through activism. All right, Nina, I hope you got that because this was a really powerful one for you. Asha, I'll go ahead and repeat yours since you're here because you had a really important one as well. So your Aries cusp is on the 7th house, and for you, your new moon activation is happening right on your right on your descendant, right on your angle, the 7th house cusp. So it's very, very strong for you. And so right now, not only are you looking at your partnerships, but by polarity, you're activating your rising sign as well, meaning how you need to show up and grow your brand visibility and reach. So working on your website, working on your logos, working on all of the things that are going to get you more visible to more people and get more and create those partnerships and stuff like that is like really, really big for you right now, Asha. Okay, going on. We're almost there. We're about 2/3 of the way through. Cynthia Gutierrez, your Aries cusp is on the 4th house, and you also, like Asha was just mentioning earlier, you have an activation right on an angle, your IC, the lowest part of your natal chart. When you have an activation here, and I think this is going to speak to you a little bit with some of the comments that you said earlier, it's like when you're creating your new moon ritual, there's something that I got downloaded as you need to be the leader in your legacy. There's something about you needing to be the ancestral leader, and that you're being called to resolve something, to make something whole, and to make manifest or something complete. I don't know if that speaks to you in any way, but there's something more spiritual about your legacy and your ancestry that you are meant to lead into. Okay, Cynthia, that's for you if you're here. Tasha, your Aries cusp is on the 11th house, and your new moon activation is also in the 11th house. Tash Lewin, I know you're not here. You're in Australia. It's early morning. Your Aries cusp is on the 9th house, and you are also having your new moon activation in your 9th house, but right on your 9th house cusp. So it's super powered with being able to create your bigger vision, creating your belief system. And if you've been working on online marketing or promotion, this is something that you need to be working on right now. Amanda Vodich, you also have an intercepted Aries, meaning that Aries doesn't live on a cusp, but Aries lives in your 9th house. So in order for you to be a visionary leader, you have to bring it through spirituality. So you are another spiritual visionary, like our friend Robin here, and your new moon activation is also in your 9th house cusp. Tell Bloom, your Aries cusp is on the 2nd house, and your new moon activation is also in the 2nd house. And oh my goodness, looking at your chart, you just celebrated birthday. Happy belated birthday, happy solar returns. So whatever new moon ritual you do for yourself today, Tell, is going to set you up for the entire new year. So really, really use this time. Chris Lockhart, you have you also have an intercepted Aries, meaning Aries does not exist on a cusp, but Aries exists within your first house. So you have to unlock your brand identity, your business identity, just all of your identity, all through spirituality. It's kind of a locked up space for you. And your first house activation, or your new moon activation, is on the first house. Ashley Jackson, your Aries cusp is on the fifth house, and your new moon activation is right on your fifth house, sixth house cusps. So I want you to be focusing on intentions that are going to support you for daily creative tasks. Evelyn Mimi Jones, you also have a first house interception. So Aries does not exist on a cusp, but it's in your first house. So you are another person that needs to establish your identity through spirit first. And your new moon activation is in the first house. Few more. Kat, I think you're still here. You were one of the first people on today. Kat, your Aries your Aries cusp is on the 11th house, and your new moon activation is also in the 11th house. Sessa, your Aries is on the 12th house. Oh, we have a lot of 12th house Aries here. And your new moon activation is in the 11th house. Patricia, your Aries cusp is on the 10th house, and your new moon activation is in the 9th house. And Ivy, your Aries cusp is on the 3rd house, and your new moon activation is on the 3rd house. All right, so yay, you guys, we did it. I went through all of the charts that I had, and I went through all of them, and I hope that served. So I know that in the worksheet I covered, you know, house by house where you need to show up as a leader. So I know that some of us had questions about how do you show up as a leader through the 12th house. So the 12th house has a lot of misunderstanding. In traditional astrology, the 12th house is about death and rebirth and like self-sabotage, but that's like the low expression of the 12th house. The highest expression of the 12th house is literally this kind of transmutation into new. It's about oneness, becoming one with all. It's about spirituality. It's about imagination. So leading from this place of flow and relaxation. Like, how gorgeous is that? I mean, there's so many different types of leaders. We don't all have to be like authoritarians, right? That's not what it is to be a leader. And so I want all of you to really step in and show up boldly and confidently as the leader that you are meant to be, as defined by your Aries cusp. All right, so house by house, I didn't write this down, but if I have time, I'll put together a little worksheet. But if you have a new moon that's happening in your first house, right? If the new moon activation is happening in your first house, you're going to be working on your brand identity. Literally in your business, you're going to be working on your website. You're going to be working on your brand. You're going to be working on all of like those visual identity, the things that people see of your business first. Got it? Second house. If you have a second house activation, I don't think there are too many of us that have the second house activation. You're going to be working on your finances. Like literally, how do you set up your money for this new economy? If you have your new moon activation in your third house, you're going to be working on your communications and your messaging. How do you get your brand messaging super clear? If you have your new moon activation in the fourth house, you're going to be working on your family, because this is your place of emotional security. If you don't have a family, if that's not resonating with you, you can also be thinking about your family at large, like creating safe spaces and creating communities. So what does that mean for all of us that have a fourth house new moon activations? If you have a fifth house new moon activation, this is where 4 degrees is of Aries. If it's happening in your fifth house, you're going to be looking at creativity. How can you bring more fun and play into your business? If you have your new moon activation in your sixth house, you're going to be looking at routines and systems. How can you get onto some new daily habits? How can you increase productivity and organization and efficiency? If you have in seventh house, and I know a lot of us here do have the new moon activation in the seventh house, you're going to be looking at your committed partnerships. So you're looking at your vendors. Like, is it time to make a hire? You're going to be looking at your ideal customers. Are these really the right people? Do you want to transform what it is to work with your ideal customers? So all of those people that you have these like committed relationships with in your business, that's what you're looking at if you have a seventh house activation. If you have an eighth house activation for new moon, make sure you're looking at all your contracts. Make sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed. Look at how you might be able to refinance some debts, or maybe this is a time that you're looking to invest in loans, because loans are so low right now that if you are in a place to invest, even though we may or may not be heading into a recession, recessions are not horrible for everyone. You know, this would be a really good time if you have an eighth house activation to be thinking about how you might want to invest in your business. If you have a ninth house activation for your new moon, this is about thinking about your vision. How can you expand your business? Do you need to learn something new? Do you need to travel somewhere? Do you need to invest in some online marketing? Right? Different than the third house where you're creating your messages. Ninth house is actually like promoting and blasting it out into the world. If it's in your 10th house, this is like literally the way you're delivering. If you have a new moon activation in your 10th house, make sure you're creating an intention that is showing you how you need to deliver your services. 11th house, if you have an activation here, you are building your platform and your network. You are building your community at large, your fan base, to increase your reach and your brand. And if you have your new moon activation in your 12th house, this is where you need to bring relaxation and flow into your business. What can you let go of in your business that's no longer serving you? I was trying to get all of that out because so much valuable information. So if you are still here with me, I hope that this serves in terms of what you need to do now. So if you can take a few minutes, I'm gonna set the timer for just a minute here. I know we don't have a lot of time, but you can go back and do these questions based on kind of those prompts and specifications that I gave you. I have a special deal right now because I know this is so important for all of us in this time of uncertainty. I have, you know, I do Astro Brand readings, one-on-one readings, and I know several of you have done them with me already. I am offering Astro Brand readings for a steal right now. So normally I don't offer half an hour sessions anymore. I feel like I can't really get deep enough into things. But if you want to do an Astro Brand reading and within this week for the new moon, what we will do is we're going to focus on just this new moon in Aries and how you need to show up as a leader. We're only going to look at this one thing, 20 minutes, 10-minute follow-up, so it's 30 minutes altogether, and I am giving this away for only $49, okay? I know if my business coach is listening to me right now, she'd probably like slap me because she doesn't think that we could do anything for $50, but I wanna make sure that this is available to all of you. So if you're interested, I'll post up a link that you can get this very special one-time only deal where we will look at your Aries leadership style and what that means for you and your brand. We'll get this done, okay? And for all of you that are working on your brand or your website, let me know. I have a few resources. As you know, my business is a web design and branding business, and of course I do the astrology thing on top of it, but I have some free resources, and if you need a web planning guide or a brand planning guide, for those of you in the Savvy Luminary, I'm happy to gift that to you. So these prompts here, I'll just read through this because again, this goes for everybody. Where in your business do you need to be seen as the leader, right? We talked about that. That's your fourth house, your Aries cusp. For me, it's on the 11th house. So I really need to be growing my networks and my groups. And I feel like personally for me, I love working one-on-one with people, and having this group thing is very new for me. I do have a wound there. So look at me, I'm showing up and doing it anyway. So pat myself on the back because this is a stretch for me, y'all. The next question, how do you want to feel as you take initiative? Right? So we are all being called to be the leader here, but we can only fully, truly step into that power if we're feeling good about it. So what does feeling good mean to you? What does that look like, right? What about your visual brand needs a rebirth or a refresh, right? Again, when we're talking about our visual brand identity, think about the things that people first come to you and first see you, because people see us all over the place now. So, you know, people might not even see your website until they've seen you on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Patreon or heard your podcast. So make sure that all of the visuals on all of your different platforms, where do you want to focus on, right? You can list a lot of things, but make sure you prioritize. So, you know, some things that came up like, yeah, LinkedIn, Patreon, your social media covers, like those would also be part of your brand identity. And then what about your personal brand style needs a refresh? I know we're all working from home now. So, you know, like I've been working from home for 10 years. I always dress up for work. I always put makeup on. I always put on a nice shirt on. I am not one of those people that works in pajamas or sweats because I just can't do it. Like I can't feel like I can get into the work mode unless I have my face and my clothes on and my necklaces. So what does that look for you for the personal brand, right? Like the way that you're presenting yourself in your business. Maybe you need a refresh there, right? And then so the last question again is which house of 4 degrees Aries is activating, as this will give you more specific insights as to what you need to focus on. And I just went through all of the houses to give you some ideas on what to focus on there. So tried to get this in an hour and we are there, and I have to thank you so much for joining me. I want to close up our circle. I want to thank you all for being here and making the commitment to yourselves to show up as the leaders. I want to connect. I want to thank our highest selves who have all come here to connect with us, and I want to thank all of the spirit guides, both celestial and earthbound, that have come to support us. So thank you, all the spirit guides, all of the helpers, all the supporters, all of the beautiful humans that are here on this call today. I take my crystal, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to use the flame to cleanse my crystal and to ignite this crystal with all my intentions and all of the intentions of the beautiful people that have showed up today. Thank you, spirit guides. May you be released to help carry out and strategize our goals. And with one deep breath, we will let go and close the ceremony with so much love and gratitude. Oh, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you got the information that you needed. And if you need any help, please let me know. I'm here to support you. And that offer stands for a 30-minute Astro Brand reading to give you some insight as to where you need to direct your business for this new economy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. You're welcome, Sessa. You're welcome, Madonna. Oh, excellent. Thank you, Patricia. Bye, everyone.